of Taipei National University of the Arts, President Chyi.
Faculty of ALIA, we are very honored to have you come from Asia, Europe, every corner of the world to come to Taipei. It is our sincere pleasure that we have this opportunity to host this big event. ALIA is only started in the year of 2012. Within 2 years, we have worked together with all the very happy. We have friends from ALIA. They also here, and friends from UK, friends from United States, from Australia, Canada, and so on. This year our missions, our goal is to set up a program called VIP, that is Vision Integrations for the ALIAs and the profession for art education assurance. Last year I came to Kyoto for a board meeting. There I met the founder of Kyoto University, Mr. Tokuyama Shoshu. He brought us to a tea house on the hill mountain, and then he told us a story about during the end of World War II, how he suffered and worked all the way through the World War II, the pain and the struggles. And by that time he realized only if we could increase the peace and love and restructure the societies, and that could make the human have the possibility to bring more hope for life. Thus he established this university, Kyoto University of Design. He believed only go through education, go through art education, we can make our life better and better and make progress day by day. By the day, he also set up a status, a stone carving stone. He only said 4 words. It's a cultural shaped nation. And he say that, and he also established a graduate program in cultural research for a master's degree. And it is not easy. I took the lesson from them. And the last year, our topic is also concentrated in exchange program in art, education, and peace. So this year, we even move a step further. We want to make a clear statement, because in 21st century, we still see Iran, they're still suffering the war. We see Middle East, we see East Europe, we see Asia, we see all the crises. Although we say we are humanized, we are very civilized, but actually there is a long way to go before we can bring peace to the world. So we like to make declarations, start from ALIA, and we can spread out. Hopefully we can start to the world say that we believe only go through our education, we can make our life better. Ladies and gentlemen, I welcome you come to our university and hope this symposium goes smoothly, and hope you stay here well. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for President Yang's welcome speech. Now, it's my great honor to present to you our host of opening speech, who is Professor Huang Tsun. He has been a prominent psychologist and native from Taiwan and served as the Minister of Education for the Taiwanese government. He's currently the Chairperson of the Higher Education Evaluation and Accreditation Council of Taiwan. Please, let's welcome Professor Huang Tsun.
President Yang, distinguished guests, dear colleagues and students, it is a great honor to be here to give a short presentation to welcome you and your big. I was requested to give a short presentation instead. I was then there to say a few words of my biased preference towards arts and its education
for your perusal. First, the arts, in my opinion, should be sensitive enough to respond to the century catastrophic events. This statement also echoes with your plea to co-sign the agenda, Arts for Peace. The war, at any time, just President Yang told us, is definitely a catastrophe to the mankind and to the civilization. The arts should catch all the important episodes in the process. Taking World War I from 1914 to 1918 as an example, we have at least 3 stages. The first is before the war. 3 examples are listed as demonstration only to explicate the state of anxiety and fear behind the developing uncertainties. The first is a threatening environment through the lens of a sensitive and shattering mind. Here I refer specifically to Vincent van Gogh. This is 18 and 1890 painting by Vincent van Gogh. It's called Quick Fear Under Threatening Skies with Crowds. It seems like a mood or an atmosphere before some very horrible event. And the second one, next please. And the second one is a panic reaction to the threatening environment. I put it here, the Edvard Munch painting, The Cry in 1893. And the third, eventually, you have a threatening environment and a panic reaction again and again. Then the result is a weary and helpless mind confined inside the body that has been burned out for a long time. It's a Pablo Picasso's painting in 1904, Woman Irony. And you can also see the next analysis by Dr. Leiden. You can see the main curvature with the associated processes on Picasso's Woman Irony. It's a lot of tension and burden on this exhausted woman. So it means that she has to cope with the threatening environment and again a panic reaction, and then she is exhausted. Next. And the second stage is in the war. Before the war, in the war, and I'm waiting for your selection of interesting examples to put them on the list. So waiting for your filling in. And the third is after the war. After the war, as the Westland almost everywhere. Here I cite the first stanza of a poem written by T.S. Eliot in 1922. A very famous poem, The Westland, especially for the burial of the dead in the beginning. April is the cruelest month, breathing lilacs out of the dead land, mixing memory and desire, stirring dew roots with spring rains. It means that there's no hope for the land to get back to the original state again. Okay, this is my first opinion on the arts and literature. And the second, so it is very wise for UNESCO to announce at the special occasion of the centennial of World War I, the Arts for Peace agenda could be the best cure for the collective nightmare over the century. It is also an effective antidote to relieve the suffering and march for a brighter future. It is even wiser for ALIA to take this opportunity to co-sign the agenda of Arts for Peace to echo with UNESCO's humanistic appeal. Next. And the second one, my biased preference for arts is that the arts should respond to science and vice versa. I will list two examples for your reference. The first is written recently by Eric Kendall. Eric Kendall is a Columbia professor in the medical school, and he's also a Nobel laureate in physiology or medicine. He recently wrote a book, The Age of Insight. The main purpose of this book is a quest to understand the unconscious in art, mind, and brain from Vienna, 19th century to the present. Eric Kendall is a Vienna native and also a psychiatrist, and later changed his research interest to a molecular mechanism of memory. Because of this important achievement, he was awarded Nobel Prize in physiology or medicine. And he said the Vienna of 1900 was successful in beginning to establish a dialogue between science and art because the city was relatively small and provided a social context. The university, coffee houses, and salons in which scientists and artists could readily exchange ideas. Moreover, this initial dialogue was facilitated by the development of a common concern that focused on unconscious mental processes. I have once visited this university for an exhibition. It's a very interesting exhibition of the students. They show how science and art interact on them, and then they produce very magnificent art pieces, and how this university is integrated into the city and try to create a very creative atmosphere for the upbringing of the young talents in this university. And the second example is from Erwin Schrödinger. Schrödinger was also a professor in the University of Vienna in the early days of last century. And he was also a Nobel laureate in physics, a very important quantum physicist. And he wrote in 1954 in a book, Nature and the Greeks, he said, it's a more pessimistic one. Eric Kendall is more optimistic on this possibility of this interaction. But Erwin Schrödinger was more critical on this aspect. He said, I am very astonished that the scientific picture of the real world around me is very deficient. It gives us a lot of factual information, puts all of our experience in a magnificently consistent order, but it is ghastly silent about all and sundry that is really near to our heart, that really matters to us. It cannot tell us a word about red and blue, bitter and sweet, physical pain and physical delight. It knows nothing of beautiful and ugly, good or bad, God and eternity. Science sometimes pretends to answer questions in these domains, but the answers are very often so silly that we are not inclined to take them seriously. It's basically it's a pessimistic tone, but 50 years past, the situation is, I think it's getting better now. For example, the big science, especially social neuroscience, has done a lot to explore the mind of empathy, altruism, and also concerning some neuroscientific studies in aesthetic experiences. So I just cite two examples to say how interaction of science and art should proceed and how important they are. And so it seems that we still have a long way to go. And the third, my opinion is that the arts should be respected of its unique way in nurturing and inspiring the talents. So, for example, this university has done the nurturing and inspiring of talents quite different from other universities in Taiwan. And the fourth is that the arts should be sensitive to the cultural aspect in a changing society and be integrated as an essential part in the cultural context. I think your VIP discussion may touch on this important issue. And the fifth is that the arts and its education should be evaluated if necessary. Usually, we don't need to evaluate a university too often. But if it's necessary, you have to evaluate this university with its peculiarity and its unique qualities with the same concern as I have suggested above. And the next. Now, in the old days, it is not easy for the Higher Education Evaluation and Accreditation Council of Taiwan to catch all the unique qualities that differentiate the University of Arts from the general or comprehensive ones. I think that's the reason why President Yang invited me to say a few words and sit down to listen to your opinion, so that I can change the evaluation mode in the council, so that I can do a better job afterwards. So it seems now that we may have a great chance to change the mode from a state, I call it, through the glass darkly, through the lens of educated eyes. I do believe that the conducting of accreditation, assessment, or quality assurance on the University of the Arts will be greatly improved after successful interactions. And concerning this university evaluation, accreditation, and assessment, you have also put them into the meeting. Maybe this afternoon you will discuss on these relevant issues. And the most important thing for us is to learn, for the council member, is to learn from you and to listen from the mature scientists and the mature artist and the artist in the making. So that's what I'm trying to express my biased preference of the arts, and wish you a happy and productive stay in Taiwan. Thank you very much.